Are in a Parliament Hill building right now. We have completely taken over the lobby of this building that has hundreds of parliamentarians' office in here. Our demand is clear. Canada needs to stop arming Israel and implement
heroes, absolute heroes. I've seen CTV being the only major media outlet talking about this, but again, you know, people actually doing direct action to hold the government accountable and saying no to genocide, and you have to stop this. And honestly, it's the bravery of people like this who are actually willing to like step in harm's way. Like right now, it puts Trudeau and the government in a really awkward position. What are you going to do? Are you going to arrest a bunch of people? Trudeau is a liberal who weaponizes the term anti-Semitism constantly. So is he going to arrest a bunch of brave Jewish protesters who are demanding that Canada end its complicity in the genocide? Or again, heroes.
An immediate arms embargo. We know that every F-35 fighter jet, every Boeing Apache helicopter dropping bombs on Lebanon, on Gaza, right?
Also, shout out to Democracy Now! For in the middle of a protest shutting down Parliament, they were able to get someone to do a live broadcast via, I don't know, cell phone or Skype or something. But like, I don't know how that happens, where it's just like, hey, by the way, I don't know if you want to do some breaking news, but there's a bunch of people in the middle of a protest. It's going to most likely have police intervention very shortly, but they've shut down Parliament. There's over 150 Jewish protesters who are demanding an arms embargo, and one of them would like to speak to you. Can we get you live?
Right now, still have hundreds of Canadian components. We're here as Jews to say this violence cannot continue in our name. And we're here as people of conscience to say that the absolute bare minimum Canada needs to be doing right now is stop arming a genocide.
Incredible. It was actually in the middle of the Democracy Now! Broadcast. So they're just in the middle of it. You see Amy and she's like, we have to stop what we're talking about immediately. We have some breaking news right now. We're going live to a protest for the shutting down Parliament.
I want to break into this conversation with this breaking news.
She's obviously way more eloquent than I can. Or maybe not.
I want to break into this conversation with this breaking news. In Canada, about 150 Jewish activists and allies have just launched a protest inside the Canadian Parliament in Ottawa to demand Canada stop arming Israel. We're joined now by Rachel Small, a member of the group Jews Say No to Genocide Coalition. Rachel, can you describe where you are and what you're doing and what you're calling for?
Thank you. We are in a Parliament Hill building right now. We have completely taken over the lobby of this building that has hundreds of parliamentarians' office in here. Our demand is clear. Canada needs to stop arming Israel and implement an immediate arms embargo. We know that every F-35 fighter jet, every Boeing Apache helicopter dropping bombs on Lebanon, on Gaza right now, still have hundreds of Canadian components. We're here as Jews to say this violence cannot continue in our name. And we're here as people of conscience to say that the absolute bare minimum Canada needs to be doing right now is stop arming a genocide.
All who hold onto it in strength will thrive. Haggai Matar, your response to this kinds of actions occurring abroad, does this have an impact on the Israeli public?
Well, first of all, I want to commend the activists on the ground now in Ottawa. It's incredible. This is the exact kind of protest that people should be taking on in Canada, definitely in the US, which is the biggest supplier of weapons and funding and diplomatic support to Israel. So yes, this is what we should be seeing more of. I'm afraid that in Israel, again, these protests are usually seen as anti-Semitic, or in the case of Jews protesting, so self-hating Jews or people that are, unhinged. That's the way it's being perceived. It's our job as Jewish Israelis on the ground, talking in Hebrew, talking to people in our communities to try and help them understand that it's not the world that's gone mad, it's us.
Interesting that the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, just met with President-elect Trump in Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Rachel Small, we're looking at the group of people. One of them, I think, says Jews for Free Palestine. What has been Trudeau's position and what's going to happen?
Oh, it totally breaks like Fox News's brain every time. Like, do you see that time when Jesse Waters was looking at a bridge protest and he was like, I see signs down there and it says, not in our name and Jews for a free Palestine? What do you make of that? I'm not sure. I don't understand what it means. It's confusing to me.
Happened to you this morning?
We have seen an unprecedented wave of resistance across Canada over the past 13 months. Many thousands of people across the country, not only petitioning their MPs, not only protesting, not only meeting with them, but actually holding blockades and weapons factories, doing literally everything they can to get Canada to stop arming Israel. And that pressure has resulted in the Canadian government taking a stance that we would have not thought possible a year or two ago. They have committed to stop arming Israel. They have, in fact, the Foreign Affairs Minister recently, in fact, said that Canadian weapons are not going to be going and used in Gaza. Unfortunately, it's not true. Unfortunately, we know that they have not canceled all the permits, and they have continued to conveniently send weapons to the U.S. without even requiring a permit. Those are going into every F-35 Israel is using. That is going into Israel's primary weapons of war. So we have backed the Canadian government into a corner where they know what the right stance is. They know they need to stop arming Israel, and we're here to make sure they do it. The Broad Arms Embargo Now coalition has come together across the country and has in fact gotten 45 parliamentarians to formally endorse the call for an arms embargo. We just need the government to step up and take that action to actually cut off the flow of all weapons to and from Israel. It's the bare minimum they need to be doing.
That's Rachel Small, member of Jews Say No to Genocide Coalition. If you're having a little trouble understanding her, she's inside the Canadian Parliament in Ottawa.
Yeah, she's in the middle of doing direct action. I'm going to follow the story, but like, you know, they could bring in the police. It's going to be interesting to see what the government decides to do. It's definitely going to be highly controversial if you do see, you know, the police enacting violence upon Jewish protesters inside the Parliament building itself. But that's why Amy's basically trying to, you know, explain what's happening. They're literally in the middle of direct protest.
There are scores of people behind her. Lead
Heroes.
Canadian organizer with World with the group World Beyond War. And in the studio with us in New York, though usually in Tel Aviv, is Haggai Matar, Israeli journalist, activist, executive director of 972 magazine, a conscientious objector himself. Juan?
Pretty wild. And yeah, it's getting mainstream coverage. Finally, it's on CTV News. I don't know if it's going to get international coverage, but we'll see what happens as it develops and keeps going. I don't know if there's anything new in terms of South Korea.